Can you intersperse Miranda warnings with a little bit of small talk? Hey guys, my name is Anthony Bandiero, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training, bringing you the Roadside Chat. So this question comes from one of my officers in Southern California. He says, Anthony, let's talk about substantial compliance with Miranda, because in order to, have a valid waiver, you have to substantially comply with Miranda. A student was in a sexual assault training class, right? Investigators class, and was told to advise in custody suspects of the Miranda rights one at a time and fill in between them with a little bit of small talk, right? So, for example, hey Anthony, how are you? Oh, that's great. Hey, you have the right to remain silent, right? Okay, awesome. How's mom? Glad to hear it. You also know you have the right to have an attorney present before any questioning. You get that, right? Cool. Hey, what hobbies do you do? So the officer's asking me my opinion of this tactic. Well, the first thing is I don't think it's per se prohibited. It's a little unorthodox. I've actually never heard of a training class teaching cops to do something like this. So look, you're making when you have stuff like this, you're making case law in a sense, right? So the courts have to decide whether it's lawful. I do know that at the end of the day, substantial requirement is this, compliance is. Did the officer articulate that the person knew their rights and voluntarily waived them? Well, when you have a conversation with somebody and you intersperse their rights, and especially when you ask them, do you understand this? That is the knowing piece. So I don't think it's going to be per se prohibited. I also know that the U.S. Supreme Court is kind of on, a glide path here of kind of making things a little easier for Miranda. So I also don't think that they would have a per se problem with this, but we certainly want to be careful if this tactic comes off as softening up the suspect. If we can get the training materials, in the court, and we can show that this officer was taught to use this tactic to soften up the suspect and to use this tactic to overcome a person's, lack of voluntary waiver and so forth, clearly that's going to be bad, right? But if the training materials talk about how this builds rapport, it kind of de-escalates stuff, then I think we have a fighting chance here. So I think, to me, if I was the judge, I would ask the officer, why are you doing this? And if the officer doesn't have like a good reason, then I think we have a problem, right? But the officer says, hey, rapport building and de-escalation, Your Honor, then, I can understand. Also, we're talking about sexual assault cases. No judge that I know of is going to want to suppress a valid confession from a person who commits heinous crimes like that. So we have that as well. That's always lurking in the background. So, just anyway, something to keep in mind. I think it's an interesting question. Hopefully I've helped just a little bit. Keep the questions coming. Hopefully I've helped you get it right every single time. If you like what I'm doing here and you want me to keep doing, hit the subscribe button, hit like. That's all I ask. All right, guys. See you next time.